Your mic is too low, McCluster.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me step outside for a second.
And I always think it's me because I'm deaf, so I always figure it's me.
Is this any better?
A little bit. Go ahead.
Okay. So in the story that Thinker was relaying, God went to, was it Sarah? So in the story that
Yeah, Sarah was Abraham's wife.
Yeah, so God went to Sarah first, and she refused, so he went to Abraham.
I don't know about that, but as James said down here, there is a little bit of that talked about in the Quran and some of the hadiths that surround the Quran, but I don't know because the Quran shares that story, except they write it from the understanding that it was Ishmael who was bound and not Isaac. So there might be hadiths that expand on that, and maybe that's where Thinker is coming from. I know that some theologians will say that he was technically resurrected because he was given back to Abraham, that Abraham would have actually sacrificed Isaac, but he was resurrected in the spiritual sense, in that, God said, never mind, there's a ram right here instead.
Yeah. I think it's meant to predate it, or not meant to, but I think it want to be. It's a little bit, fuzzy right now. I'll definitely go back to her and get more details on that, but I'm pretty sure it had nothing to do with this poem.
Somebody has the TV in the background.
I think it was like an earlier telling, but I'll find out because I don't want to keep muddying the waters here.
So Oblivion, are you confused on any other prophecies concerning Christ?
Again, I'm not.
Wait a truth. Why are you going after Oblivion like that? But okay,
No,
Oblivion.
he brought up a few points, so I just think we should give him a chance to at least address it.
Like Bitter, you're the only one confused because you had yet to tell me the main prophecies that he's fulfilled. Because as far as I'm concerned and know, he hasn't fulfilled any.
So give one example of, again, for the
was Jesus ever crowned king?
Yes, once he died, he became the king.
Come on.
He became king. So
Come on.
That's not how it works.
Even you, Bitter Truth, know that is lame.
If you're going to talk about what the Romans did that in mockery. They'll put a crown of thorns on you, and when they're about to execute you, they'll put a crown of thorns on you because it's mocking you.
No, once he descended to heaven, he became king officially.
Yeah, from a spiritual standpoint, it was.
Oh, so it's a spiritual kingdom.
Yeah,
Yes, kingdom of heaven. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a spiritual king then too.
Yeah, so he was a zombie king. Okay.
No,
Yes,
I think you have a different a misconception there, because after Christ died, he became the intercessor of mankind, because, like I said, Christ came Melchizedek, which he was both high priest and king, but his kingship isn't there as yet. That's
after he unalived.
The problem with that, because it's not talking about spiritual, this is actually talking about monarchical royal lines. In order for him to be king, he had to be of the line of David, which he was not.
He was from the line of David because he was the son of Joseph.
Not the son of
He was son of who?
That's why.
Joseph.
Grim.
What up? Rebel
The rabbi wants to speak. I think she needs to speak.
Guys.
Joseph was, but Joseph is not Jesus' father, is he?
Correct.
No, he was the stepfather.
So Jesus wouldn't be of the line of David because he's not Joseph's son.
And was Mary just a Levi?
Mary was not a Levi. And at the time, so still at that time, we went by the father, the patriarchal line. It wasn't until later during the Roman siege that Judaism started counting the lineage of Jews or by the mother. So it would have been counted by Joseph. Joseph was of the Davidic line, but Mary was not. And at that time, it would have gone by Mary. And even if it had gone by Joseph, Joseph was not Jesus's father. He raised them. I will say that he raised him, but that would not make him of the Davidic line.
And on top
I
of
want to
that,
do
he was
Reggie
never
thing.
crowned.
I want to do Reggie thing. Okay, Jesus was a bastard, and bastard will never see heaven after the 10th direction. And
Monster.
God was a dead. Yeah, God was a deadbeat God.
But
I
also
wanna
on top
do
of
the
that,
Reggie
like
thing.
he was never officially crowned. Like the prophecy specifically talking about being crowned king because this was supposed to be King David coming back, and Jesus was never crowned. Also, Jesus. Okay. Also on top of that, anyone who's supposed to be the Messiah was supposed to bring about world peace. Was world peace ever achieved?
Well, you know, even with prophecy,
No.
there's things that's laid out, especially like in Deuteronomy 28. He lays down conditions. If you do,
I believe in hold up. I believe in just ask a very simple question. Why is it so hard to say yes or no?
This is a messianic prophecy. The person who's supposed to be the Messiah to bring about world peace. Has world peace ever been achieved?
It goes
No.
question though.
Did it say when world peace is going to be achieved?
When they are alive. That is the nature of prophecy. Prophecy is supposed to happen when the individual is alive.
But in Deuteronomy 28, doesn't it say that there are certain things like if you do this, I will do that. There's curses and then there's blessings.
That's what God is saying to his people. That God, not prophecy. If you were prophesied to do something, then you're supposed to be the events that were foretold in life.
Isn't a promise part of prophecy? The promise
No.
is they will inherit this, right?
A promise and prophecy are not the same. Prophecy is a foretelling of the future.
All right. If you're promising somebody they will get this in the future, that's not a foretelling of the future.
Promise is not a prediction because a promise can be broken.
Yeah, but if he's telling them in prophecy that they will get this and they will get that, but it's all contingent on their actions, whether or not they stop sinning.
Our prophecy,
Come on, even you yourself know that is
time oriented, or
there's promises where.
okay. I think Rabbi wants to say something.
Prophecy. If God promised something, then it was like, okay, if you do this for me, I will keep my word and I'll do this. That's not what a prophecy is. A prophecy is I'm looking into the future, and this person is supposed to do A, B, C, and D. Right, now, when that event happens, the person who is prophesied is supposed to do A, B, C, and D. That's the nature of prophecy.
All right,
where's the prophecy that when Christ came that he would bring world peace?
That's part of the one. Okay, that's one of the many messianic prophecies, and Rebel Rabbi can talk about it.
Yeah, at the time there was at least 5 messianic Moshiach prophecies that were said that any Moshiach was to fulfill to show that they were in fact the Moshiach. And at the time of Jesus's life, there were 9 others who were also seen as potential Moshiachs of the time, including Judas, Bar Kokhba,
Let me tell you how much I've come to hate.
Okay,
I ask you 2 questions which you had them before.
I have no mouth, but I must scream. But this is not the place for that.
I have 2 questions which we were having earlier, and I think you, Rabbi, you can clarify. And thank you for being here. One of them, it was the Numbers 22 with Balaam story, and there is a Shatan. You know that passage probably better than us.
Yep.
Can you clarify?
In fact, that's awesome
Yes.
because that's actually the parsha for this week.
Great, I'm a prophet. You should pray into me. And there is a...
No, I won't do that.
Yes, I'm joking. And
everybody pray
one, so
to Cyprian. Yeah.
All I'm saying is that's the verses I'm teaching on later today.
That's amazing. And there was another question, both appears in this chat, in this talk, is about Lucifer or the light, and I think I forgot which passage is, but I think it's about the king of Tyre, if I remember right.
It is.
Yes. So clarify these relations with the Satan, the Christian Satan in this binary world. You know, the Christian world. Is this any of these passages about?
Okay, so
the relation with Satan, basically, or
okay, so
devil,
is that,
or whatever.
Okay, so here is the breakdown. A lot of people, I know atheists have heard me talk about this multiple times before, but Satan literally just means adversary. And in the text, the adversary is often portrayed as the human being who is standing in direct opposite of the protagonist in any of the text. Now, there has been like 2 times that the Satan, the adversary, has been portrayed as a member of the divine court who is acting in accordance with Hashem's wishes and acting as almost a prosecutor for Hashem, pressing on what we would define as the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination of man, and saying, you know, hey, I'm pushing on that to see if you are going to adhere to Hashem's will, or are you going to adhere to your own will and give in to the evil inclination. This idea of Lucifer, who is the kind of the king of Tyr, but this idea that the Satan and Lucifer and the devil are all one thing, those kind of became amalgamated in the like 18th, 17th century there, and is more prevalent we see in more the 19th century. So this idea of one being that rules over this place called hell, none of that is all post-biblical.
Don't they use definite articles to describe like the Hasatan?
I'm sorry, I'm not your fault. I'm very deaf.
I said, don't they use a definite article to describe the Hasatan?
No. So Hasatan literally means the adversary. That's it.
Like, but isn't there like a definite article in the instances when it's like describing like a noun?
No. I mean, yeah, title. Yeah, like I said, there's 2 times where the Hasatan is used as a title for a member of the divine court.
I might need to take a second.
But that is not necessarily the same member of the divine court.
Is it Zechariah and Job? The 2 times to Zechariah and
Job alludes to it. However, Job is allegory, and there's still a lot of there's been some back and forth over the centuries of whether or not Job was supposed to be portrayed as completely pious or rebellious.
I didn't do anything.
No, other instances like in Zechariah.
Yes. So, but this idea that that Lucifer, the devil, and the Satan is one being that is like the ruler of some place called hell is incorrect. I mean, textually incorrect. You're welcome to feel and believe however you like. I'm not here to tell you you can't. But if you're asking me what the text says, the text does not support that.
Wait, Rabbi, do you have your TV on in the background?
No, my wife is talking to her best friend.
Wait, so you're saying hell is not literal?
No, hell is not literal. Sheol is where the term hell comes from, and it just means the grave. It literally translates to the grave, and everyone goes there. Now, there is Gehenna, but Gehenna is based also on a literal place on earth where there were burning bodies and trash. And the reason that it's talked about this continual burning of bodies and trash is because that was the pits, the literal pits on earth where things were happening to get rid of trash and bodies, unfortunately. In fact, you can Google where Gehenna is now, and it's like a golf course.
Yeah, but a literal hell is in the Bible.
No, it isn't.
Well, they were ignored.
Yeah, so when Jesus met the possessed man, right? They say for the torment that they thought he was going to cast upon him. So the demons basically thought Jesus was going to cast them into outer darkness. It's a place they fear. It's a literal place of torment. And
that's not hell.
It's really not.
It's outer darkness. It's hell. Hell's a prison. It's a prison.
There is no understanding in the text of an eternal conscious torment. There is not. Now, so if we're being completely, like, if you'd like for me to explain it, in the Jewish theology, you are always on a road between being closer to Hashem or farther away from Hashem.
So what were they
every
fearing?
action. I'm sorry?
So what were the demons fearing? What place were they fearing?
I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time.
He was asking what the demons were fearing when they say, cast out into outer darkness, place what demons feared.
Oh, In what verse are we talking about? Where are we seeing this?
I believe in Mark when Jesus met the possessed man.
All right, hold on.
When we finally spoke to the demons, they said, Jesus, please, basically, do not send us to a place of torment, rather into these pigs. So they feared a literal place. So what were they fearing?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to actually pull it up because while I understand, my specialty is in Jewish text and the history of when they were produced. Okay, do you happen to know?
As an introduction, because I read about this critical.
Wait, Cyprian, just a minute. Cyprian, just a minute. Just a minute. K9 Informer has a question also.
Yep. So basically, what I was just gonna say is that in the Bible, if you read the Bible,
How old are you for TikTok purposes?
Say again? Age? Yeah, 35. He, him.
Oh, ancestor. Okay. What is your faith?
I am atheist.
Oh, okay. Welcome on board, and thank you for choosing the African atheist. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So what I was just going to say is if you read the Bible and they speak of hell, they actually describe it in numerous different ways. They describe it as a pit. They describe it as a lake. They describe it as without God. They describe it as well as complete darkness. There's a lot of different descriptions for hell. So by trying to say hell is pinpointed to an internal pit of fire, is a reach when they're describing it in so many different forms.
K9, are you familiar with the concept of sorry, Bit, I just want to say, are you familiar with the concept of heap-eating, where a man says exactly what a woman just said? I think it'd be interesting for you to look it up. Rebel Rabbi is been on this track for a little while now, and I don't think what you said was wrong, but you're just repeating what Rebel Rabbi said.
I mean, I don't think I repeated because it wasn't specifically said all the differences and what's described in the Bible as hell yet. That's what I was just saying is what it's described as. I wasn't trying to repeat like that or mansplain or whatever.
And I don't.
You are not trying to mansplain.
No, and I don't feel offended. Just so you guys, it's very hard to offend me.
Also, real quick to help you out, Rabbi, it's Mark chapter 5 verses 1 through 20.
All right, I'm there. Hold on,
Brian.
May I quote at least some criticism? I'm not a scholar. I read. So please take it with a grain of salt, but Rabbi can complete. So first of all, this passage, let me be very clear, is not literal. For one thing, it is considered a commentary on the Roman occupation and the legion, supposedly that in year 70 that was going to occupy Israel and sadly destroy the temple at the end, would have, I think, as I understand, on the flag, a pig, a head of the pig. So this is a commentary of the Mark writer, who definitely was post factum writing, that it was about the pigs were the Romans. So this criticism was saying like, who are we? We are the legion. Legion was really the Romans. This will be their faith because of the Messiah who will go and drown them. So this is a theological commentary, but it has nothing to do, as far as I understand. This is just to say it's not my commentary. Again, it's a scholarly one on Roman.
Yeah, I didn't
Roman
realize
destruction.
this was a part where I'm literally reading it right now. So yeah, when they're talking about legion, they're literally talking about the Roman occupation and how what the Roman. I'm sorry, what makes me say that?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Is that what you asked? What makes me say that?
Yes.
Right, Mango.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you at first. Because it's the academic consensus.
I'll think I'm starting to make a little bit
of
progress.
Just like
academic consensus state. What makes it? I still understand. What makes them say that this refers to Rome?
Well, mostly because of the time that it was written. So Mark wasn't written until 150 CE. You know that, right?
I think it's definitely 70. Sorry to correct you. It's 70.
No, that's
Mark.
Matthew. That's
Matthew.
Matthew. No, Matthew.
Mark is 70. Matthew is 80 to 90. Luke is kind of second century.
Let me check.
And
Let me double check.
John.
Yay!
Please.
Let me double check.
I promise to you.
Just a minute. I want to celebrate something. We are at 100K likes.
Oh, you're
Let's
right.
see what
I
that-
apologize. You're right. I was switching them. I apologize. You're right. Yeah, Mark is the Yeah, Mark is the oldest one that we have, and we still only have a little bit of it left over, like that we have currently.
I think the oldest, and I want to make one correction. There is something half hell in the New Testament, but this is not also written by Peter. It's in the second Peter. And that writer, who is not Peter, I double, triple say it, he said about Tartarus.
Yeah, Tartarus, and that is a ripoff
Greek
from
mythology.
Greek mythology.
Yes, but this could kind of say it's kind of a hell. Just to say I'm devil's advocate here.
Yeah,
this is the closest you'll find in the old Bible of hell.
Right, but Tartarus was absolutely lifted from Greek mythology, but of course that's going to happen, especially during the Greco-Roman period. You have all of these, all of these people who are milling together and exchanging. It's the same way why we have a
if I just don't see
story
it,
that is also in Gilgamesh, because it originated as an Akkadian, Mesopotamian myth.
And the thing about Tartarus, and a lot of people don't get it, like, yeah, it is a kind of hell, but here's the problem when it comes to the Tartarus. Tartarus is only for the worst of the worst. Essentially, anyone that goes to Tartarus is because you pissed off the gods. So you wrong either Zeus, you wrong Poseidon, you wrong Athena, you pissed off a god, and they send you there directly, because everyone else, you're just wandering around the main part of the underworld for all eternity. That's literally all you do. Unless you go to damn it, I just lost it.
So as
it's Elysium.
The Elysium Fields. As a quick side quest, the Greek mythology is what got me into theology. Is when I was a child, when I was about 13, I was reading about Greek mythology, and I went, I wonder how come people believed in this, and boom, here we are.
But yeah, I still stand that Mark 5 is literal demons. Like it
I
doesn't
mean,
relate allegorically to Rome.
I mean, that's okay that you feel that way. The text doesn't quite support that, and that takes a negotiation with the text, which you're of course able to do
verse by verse. It has nothing to do with Rome. It's liberal spirits.
I did
and if
just
you're trying
read
to interpret it as Rome, you can't put it together with Rome.
We have better.
We can, but
Legion
if you would
come from the Romans.
If you would like a really good explanatory or explanation of these kind of demonology and these things that occur within the Bible, I would suggest a colleague's book called God's Monsters by Dr. Esther Hamori.
I ordered it.
It's a good book. I love Esther.
But better. Legion is a Roman term. Like, do you know anything about how the military works? And I'm not just talking about Rome, I'm talking about ours.
Nice. Are you only going to the Billings, or are you going to
you have a company, you have a platoon.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, that's what a legion is. A legion was a part of the Roman military. It's like a company, like with our military. It's a group of soldiers that form one massive unit.
Well, it can mean a horde, multitude.
No, it's very specific. It is a part of the Roman army. It's usually 6,000 soldiers, and it is literally it's just a part of their military. It's one specific company. So if you were a legion, that meant that you were part of 6,000 soldiers that had a commander, which was usually a general, and you would do any number of military operation.
Okay, I'm sorry, but Susan, who is being voted off the island? And thank you so much, Susan.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Krista J. Who is being Law? Okay, Law, you've been voted off the island. Okay, now you get to leave the airplane without a parachute.
That's a shame.
We have better. This is what happened.
Boom.
With
okay,
you know what colloquialism is?
Yes, so how words is used.
Yeah, how you have a word with a very specific definition, but then, especially when it gets into the public, it means something else. That's what happened with the term legion. Legion was very specific. It talked about a Roman company within the military, but over time, its colloquial term is a large number of individuals that attack.
Yes, but it mentions a man specifically, and it mentioned a kingdom. It said a man. Jesus came towards a man who was possessed.
Yeah, a kingdom. Yeah, the Roman kingdom.
So the man was Rome.
it's an allegory for this idea of Roman kingdom and the soldiers that are taking over and coming through and harming the people who live under their Roman rule.
I mean, it's definitely not that, but if you guys want to believe it's referring to Roman,
it definitely is, especially because like this is what we're arguing with Laura.
No, it's okay if you disagree, like, and this is how you personally render it. That's completely okay. But if you're asking me what it is designed to mean, I'm going to tell you what the academic consensus is.
Okay, so when it stated, and they came to Jesus and see him that was possessed with the devil and had the legion sitting and clothed in his right mind, they were afraid. So when they said in his right, when they saw him in his right mind, what did it mean? So are you saying Rome will once be in their right mind? Is that what it's saying?
I'm sorry, one more time.
So what does verse 15 mean to you? So I'll read it. And they came to Jesus and see him that was possessed with the devil and had the legion sitting and clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid.
Let me get to it because
This is Mark 5.
Hold on.
15.
Yep, I'm right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking at Luke 8:30, which is saying, I'm legion because many demons had entered him. I'm trying to work out what the Greek word for demon would have been. I've never heard.
Well,
I mean, yeah,
the term demon and devil comes from Greek.
Yeah, it's post-biblical.
but Oblivion and Rebel Robot, are you? I'm confused. What you're saying is happening, like that Jesus came across a Roman legion.
No.
So
No.
No. So what I'm saying is that this idea of Jesus is being portrayed as someone who can help the people overcome the Roman Empire. Hence the idea of legion and how his presence is much like something to cast out the Roman occupation, because we know that at the time the stories of a historic Jesus were that he stood against the Roman Empire. And that he stood in contrast for those who were being harmed by the Roman Empire, who were being harmed by those who did these
it's a liberation
awful things.
movement. I understand that, but he's using
absolutely.
an analogy of
he is using
demons.
an analogy of legion being this Roman Empire and portraying them as this demonic entity, so that it shows the stark difference between the liberation that you receive by following this way of Jesus versus being under the control of the Roman Empire.
So today, if there was, you might see a similar, or I'm trying to think of a war that's happening where an invading force might get compared to a virus, and that would tell us or tell people in 1,000, 2,000 years what we understood viruses to be. So what does that those passages tell us that Jesus and his audience, the audience of the Gospels, thought that the demons were?
That they were literal soldiers, these people who were harming them and hurting them and creating this.
It makes no sense.
I think that's you're misunderstanding. I understand the occupation, the Roman history, but Jesus or the writers in Luke and Mark are saying they're like many demons, right? Just like I might say that this invading force is like a virus. Now you and I would know what a virus means because we have understanding, contextual understanding. So when Jesus or the writers of the gospel say, "Oh, a legion, it's like many demons inside of me," people are going to be reading and going, "Oh yeah, it's just like those demons, isn't it?" What do they understand by demons?
Are you asking about what the reader of the time understood by the okay, sorry, I apologize. So the word demon isn't actually necessarily present. It is from an earlier understanding of like evil. So like many evils, and then later it has been transcribed as like this idea for demon. So it really, the readership of the time would see it as a fantastical story of the kind of putting down of the Roman Empire by referring to them as evil and like don't want to say demonic
demonia,
because
isn't it?
Yeah, sort of like putting them down by equating them, especially when they equate them to pigs, because of course being equated to pigs by people who don't eat pigs, you know, that is the most unclean animal according to the people of that time. So
and
I'm taking the spirit of these and I'm putting it into this pig, which is the most unclean animal, to like illustrate the darkness and the evil that is come with these people who seek to like harm us.
And of course, just because there are demons mentioned in the Bible doesn't mean that they've got a home base called hell somewhere that we've created.
Absolutely. And like I said, my a colleague of mine really kind of goes into it in her God's Monsters, where she talks about she gets into where these origin points are for a lot of them, including like Leviathan, et cetera, and their origin points, where they come from a historical standpoint, and how they fit into the biblical narrative.
I want to
add
one more point with completion. Let me please speak and I will let one. But I think many modern readers, especially Protestants ones, after this Illuminist era or something like that, they get many things overly literal. When you see a story of Jesus doing this or that, many people think really Jesus went here and there. And I will give one very historical story of Lazarus. Lazarus, he is healed, he is revived, basically, out of the stone in John. This story, in fact, at least some consensus, is not general, but it's quite wide, except it is a commentary of parable of Luke, of a poor guy named Lazarus, who was a beggar. So you can see Jewish writers taking plainly a parable and making as a history where, in fact, this Lazarus is the very best friend of Jesus. I'm sure some people will think, hey, there was really a guy, Lazarus, he was living, but that was never, I'm not saying never, mostly it was not a concern of an antique writer writing antiquity. And sometimes we expose or we try to transpose when we read the history today, we think this guy did that, said that, and this is an unrealistic expectation of the writers, especially writing a style like of a gospel. They never had that intent of being history.
The best way I could describe it is this is why sometimes in these discussions I say, tell me you never read a story without telling me you never read a story. One of the examples that I give is, my profile picture, which is Godzilla. If you understand the history of Godzilla, you would know Godzilla himself is an allegory for nukes, specifically nuclear weapons. Like, he is a force of destruction. You can't harm him. No modern weapons can hurt
Godzilla
him.
was inspired by Leviathan.
No. If you actually go through the history of Godzilla, which I've done extensively, he is based off of the atomic testing.
Leviathan.
Not Leviathan, atomic testing. He is
in the Bible it says no weapon can hurt Leviathan. And Godzilla not even meant to hurt him. So if you compare the parallels between Leviathan and Godzilla, you can see that.
When did the first Godzilla movie come out?
1954.
1954.
The idea of Godzilla came from the atomic era and the atomic bombing, and as a response to the way that the West treated Japan during World War I.
He's literally the embodiment of the atomic age. He's basically supposed to be an allegory. This is what happens when you use nukes. You can't stop a nuke. There is no weapons that you can use to stop a nuke unless you get an even more powerful, more dangerous weapon to combat it. And at the end, everyone loses. That's the whole point of him. He's not based off of the biblical Leviathan. He's literally the embodiment of the atomic age. Literally everything about him is atomic energy.
It would be very difficult for a culture that has, especially at that time, had very little Christianity, as they were most Taoist, to come up with this idea of a creature from the Bible.
No, that's not true, because even most religions they follow the Bible, even though not openly.
What?
For example,
I'm sorry. Hold on. Islam has
Yes,
the
they mention
Quran, which was
Jesus in
written.
their religion. In Hinduism,
Yes, but
it
that
says Christ consciousness has the highest level of being. And then the
no,
Romans,
No, it
they
doesn't.
put their gods in it.
no. Hinduism is older than Christianity and Judaism.
No, I'm saying
Hinduism
that.
has been around. So in modern time, you might hear Hindus talk about this kind of Christ consciousness because
Yeah,
language
because
evolves.
Jesus was born after the official text was written. But they once
What?
they realized that Jesus was
There's
God,
no
they began to
the
implement.
official text of what?
Okay. All right, Bitter, real quick, because I read the Vedas and I read the Bhagavad Gita. They don't mention Jesus. The whole idea of Jesus being in Hinduism.
No, because they came before Jesus was born. But also, if Jesus was around,
the
they
whole
wouldn't
idea
saw
of
Jesus as God.
Hindus, Bitter, the whole idea of Hindus talking about Jesus came from colonization from the British. So when the Hindus were being colonized by the British, and the British were mostly Christian, and they talk about their Jesus, their explanation for Jesus was, oh, he was just another guy that was just, enlightened, just like our people. Like, that's it.
No, but if you think about it, what do they call the highest form of consciousness? Christ consciousness. So they
No.
get reverence to God. Whether
No,
you see
you
it or
can't
not.
just make stuff
The
up.
highest form is called Christ consciousness.
Bitter.
Think about it. Christ consciousness.
Bitter. Hinduism doesn't have a concept of Christ. There's
So
no
what is
such
Christ
thing as
consciousness?
Christ.
Where did they get that term from? And why are they using it?
Wait a minute. Bitter Truth, are you trying to make your own religion here?
You're just being willfully ignorant right now, because Christ does not
It
exist
is.
in Hinduism. Christ is a Greek term.
Let's be really charitable.
Christ
to Bitter Truth.
consciousness.
There is almost certainly someone on
May
social
I?
media on TikTok who has said even the Hindus